In this movie, we are going to get our first real look at symbols. Now, before we do that, we're going to have to watch this video called Welcome to Kitty City. It's by this guy who goes by the name of Cyriak. That's C-Y-R-I-A-K, and you'll want to look him up after you see this. Now, this has some great sound in it, but I'm going to turn off the sound because I want to talk to you about what's going on here. Now, as you watch this, look at this. I want you to look at things that are the same. Animations that could be the same animation, but maybe out of sync or something like that. So as you look at this, look at these caterpillar sections of this cat body. If you think about what you saw first, at the very beginning, we saw that fur ball bouncing along. And look at this. This one cat here is actually several of those fur balls. Well, not anymore, but it was several of those fur balls bouncing, but they were bouncing out of sync with each other. This is an example of what a symbol can do. And as you watch this, you can see, look at the repetition in there, like the cat legs going up and down. Here we're coming back. There's just one cycle that keeps going through. And you can see each one of these cat faces that make up the legs, that is actually doing the exact same thing. It's just some of them are doing it out of sync with each other. Sometimes they're rotating out of sync with each other or something like that. We keep coming back to this caterpillar cat, and that caterpillar cat is just a single animation that's repeating over and over and over again. So keep this in mind as we go. I'm going to turn back the sound so we can watch to the end of it because it is just fabulous. Oops. Oops. I almost talked all the way to the end. Anyhow, go look this guy up. He's great. C-Y-R-I-A-K. Especially like this cow one. Cows are great too. Okay, so that is a symbol, or actually what we saw there is a bunch of symbols. Now he does this work in After Effects, which Flash and After Effects are kind of like the equivalent to Illustrator and Photoshop. Illustrator deals with a lot of vector art, just like Flash does. After Effects deals with a lot of bitmap animation, like Photoshop, raster images, things that are made up of grids of pixels. Now, what we're finding, especially with this new Flash CC, is that Flash CC puts out some great quality video. Back in the past, the video that was output from Flash was bad enough to not even be useful to anybody. But they've rewritten a lot of the code base that's behind the way that Flash runs, and it has made enormous improvements. They've also taken out some of the kind of troublesome features that made video not work in Flash. So we're going to look at how to make our first kind of symbols. There are three different kind of symbols. Actually, there are four. We call them graphic symbols, movie clip symbols, button symbols, and font symbols. In this class, we're only going to think about graphic symbols and movie clip symbols. Now, these names are a little bit unfortunate. All they really describe is the behavior of the symbol on the timeline. We're going to spend all day today looking at graphic symbols. Now, my basic rule of thumb for symbols is if you've got artwork that appears in more than one frame in your movie, it should be a symbol. Why? Well, we're going to see why. It helps us update. Also, if you've got something that's going to be in a motion tween or a classic tween, it should be in a symbol. Now, what a symbol is it's just a container. It's a more sophisticated container than, say, groups or drawing objects, but it's really just a container. It has a set of properties that describe its state, and what it has that groups and drawing objects don't have is a timeline of its very own. That means that symbols can contain their own animation. Okay, two ways to make a symbol. We're going to look at the first way. That is to take something that's on the stage and convert it to a symbol. I really like to call this wrapping it in a symbol or something like, because you're not really converting or changing anything. All you're doing is putting a container around whatever it was that you made. Let's start out with a simple rectangle. I don't really like any of my colors that I have here because what we're going to make is a Monopoly house. So let's go ahead and choose this pure green. And let's see if we can't do something with it to make it look a little bit more Monopoly-y. How about if we come down, let's leave it at the same saturation, and let's change its brightness. You can type numbers in here, or you can use the slider, or you can just move, click up and down in here. Flash doesn't care how you do it. No, I don't care how you do it either. I like to slide it until I get about what I want. I think this is going to probably be my best Monopoly house color. It's not going to look good on this white background, but I don't want a white background anyway, so let's go ahead and change that too. Okay, we've chosen our color. Let's go over to our swatches and go ahead and add that to our swatch set. If I wanted to make sure that this color was available in any new movies that I make, I would probably want to come in here and choose Save as Default again and answer, yes, Flash, I do. Okay, well, let's go ahead while we're at it and let's make a background color. We're going to base that background color on this kind of, what would you call that? Is that taupe? Is that what taupe is?
Yes, dark.
A dark taupe. I want to make a dark kind of brownish background. And I want it to be more brownish than this, so I'm going to crank up the saturation a little bit. And we're going to try darkening it. And you're going to find that this is really a process of manipulating these two things until you get to where you want. Now, I'm not changing the hue at all. I'm going to try to stick with my same hues as much as possible. You will see when I get to making hotels, Monopoly hotels, that we don't have a red, so I'm going to actually have to add a new hue for that. But for most purposes, as much as I can, I'm going to stick with the same set of 4 hues to keep my movie easily harmonious. Because I like easy harmony. Too saturated or just about right? I'm going to leave it just about right because I know in the videos we'll lose a bit of saturation. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. I might want to sort them by colors like that, and then I can save as default again and say, yes, Flash. Or I could just add that to the current color set. Okay. So we're going to make our background. Let's make a rectangle. Remember, backgrounds are easy. All you have to do, I do have the rectangle primitive tool. Not what I want. Let's go ahead and just get rectangle. Backgrounds are easy, especially if you want it to cover the full frame, because all you have to do is select it, come down to your align panel, choose align to stage, match the width of the stage, the height of the stage, align it left, and align it top, and you've got your background. This is only going to appear probably on one keyframe, but I'd kind of like it to be a symbol, just because I like symbols. So I'm going to see how to make a symbol, just to start with. You can come here and right-click and choose Convert to Symbol. That's one way. We're going to call this background brown, dark, and underscore art. This is a little bit of a mnemonic or a way of naming that I use to tell myself that this is a symbol that only contains a shape. No animation, no funny business. It just contains a bit of artwork. I'm going to choose graphic. Registration, upper left-hand corner. That's a good place for it. We'll talk about registration in a little bit. Choose OK. And there I have my symbol. We're going to go ahead and name our layer. I don't want to inadvertently mess this up, so I'm going to go ahead and lock my layer for now too. If we come over, we can get our first look at the library panel. And you can see there is our symbol, a picture of the artwork in it. And there it is in the list. I would like to be able to see my properties panel and my library at the same time. So I am going to, first of all, undock this and then come in here and redock it. But instead of letting it group together with properties, I'm going to bring it up so you see that bar there. That means it's coming in separately, so there I have library, properties. However, I like properties on top because that is my favorite panel, so I'm going to bring that up. Okay, so now we can see our properties and our library at the same time. If you ever want to not see them at the same time, all you have to do is come in here and double-click on library, and that hides it down to the bottom. Double-click it to bring up. Double-click on properties. Same thing. Okay, so now we've got this so we can see both of them at the same time. Alrighty. Let's make another symbol. I'm going to do this on a new layer. We're going to choose that green that we made, our Monopoly House green. And let's use our rectangle tool. I tend to just like to go ahead and make a rectangle and then use my properties panel to choose my width and height. Now I did this earlier just to make sure I wouldn't embarrass myself by, just kind of flubbering around here. I want my rectangle to be 40 tall, actually 40 wide by 60 pixels tall. No, I don't. I want it to be 60 wide by 40. That's more better. We're going to align this at the bottom because right now we don't care about where we place it. What I really want to do is place it in a place that's going to be easy for me to make a Monopoly house out of this. And working from the bottom is kind of convenient for me. Okay, we could work for the top as well, but I want to add to the top, so we're going to see why. I want to see my rulers. So I'm going to come out here to rulers and show those because we're going to make some guides here. I'm going to make a guide for the left side, the right side, the top, and the peak of the roof. So if you remember, whenever you make a guide, you can just drag it out and double click on it, and that gives you the Move Guide dialog. How wide was this? 60 pixels. So if I hit 60 here, it's going to put it right on the right side. I'm going to drag out another one. Double click on it. I want it to be at 0 pixels. Unfortunately, you have to hit delete twice to get rid of that negative sign there if it's there. Now I want a guide at the very top of my soon-to-be house, which would be, how tall is it? It's 40 pixels tall. 60 wide, 40 tall. Is that what I said? Yeah. So we know that our stage is 400 tall because we're making a 550 by 400. So all I have to do is subtract 40 from 400. Gives me 360. I hope. Yes. Now, just because I figured it out and I have it written on a little note card here so I don't have to goof around with this too much, I want my... Oh, gee. I wrote wrong things on my notes here. Let's see. This guide is at 360. I want to try making my roof peak about 320. So let's say 40 tall. I'm going to say 30 tall. So let's make another guide at 330 and see how that looks. How's that look for the peak of a roof? About right. Where's the peak of the roof going to be? Well, it's going to be at the center, so let's go ahead and make a center guide. And double click on that, and 60 wide, so we want to put that at 30, like so. It's going to be really good practice for getting used to your coordinate system here. So I'm going to zoom in on here, and I'm pressing down the space bar to get the hand. And then I add Command on Mac, Control on Windows, and that gives me the magnifying glass. So I'm going to magnify this. And the idea here is that I have a shape here, not a drawing object, not a symbol, nothing else, just a regular old merge shape. I'm going to use the pen tool to just add a roof here. One thing you'll find out about the pen tool is, well, we got pink, that's fine, is that it doesn't like these guides. The guides kind of confuse it. So let's go ahead and lock our guides. You're going to find yourself locking and unlocking guides quite a lot. So we'll first of all come up here and choose View, Guides, Lock Guides. This is something that I want to remember, this shortcut. So I'm going to see there's Option, Command, semicolon. On Windows, that would be Alt, Control, semicolon. So instead of just choosing it here, I'm going to let that close, and I'm going to do it down here on my keyboard, which you can't see. But now I've just locked my guides so that if I were to come over here with my selection tool, you can see I can't do anything to them. That's going to keep me from messing them up or messing up anything with my pen tool. The other thing I want to do is check to make sure I have the right snapping turned on. And again here, how about this? Instead of coming here and choosing these things, why don't we just remember our edit snapping shortcut? That's Command /. That would be Control / on Windows. Command /, what that does is that brings up the edit snapping dialog box, which allows you to choose all these things as you want instead of mousing up over each one individually. Let's go ahead and just turn off Snap Align for now and just snap to guides. I'm going to click OK. Choose our pen tool. Pink is great for a stroke because I know that I'm going to get rid of the stroke already. Now if you look here, we're just going to review a little pen tool stuff. Anytime that you see that / with the pen tool, what that means is you're adding to the current path. I mean, there's a point there. And this means we're going to pick up where that one left off. So we're going to click there to make a point. We're going to click here to make another point. Click here to make another point. And we're going to finally end it here. And I want to fill this. I'm going to use my fill tool. Oh, let me zoom back out here. That's your paint bucket tool. K is a shortcut for that. And we'll go ahead and fill it like so. We will choose our lines to get rid of them. We can now clear our guides if we want to. Look at that, no shortcut for that. You can program your own shortcuts and stuff if you want to, but we're just going to do that. There is our Monopoly House. This isn't a symbol yet, though. If we look at this, this is simply a merge shape. We want to make it into a graphic symbol. So again, we saw that you can do convert to symbol. You can also do that from your edit menu. No, it's modify, convert to symbol. And you'll see it's also F8, converts this to a symbol. We're going to call this Monopoly House. I get in the habit of naming my symbols without any spaces in the name. That's because if you ever get into ActionScript, you can access these symbols in your library, at least the movie clips, with the code, and the code doesn't like the spaces. Not a bad habit to get into. We're going to make a graphic registration at the upper left and click OK. And now you'll see we have a second symbol in our library. Okay, let's zoom out here and see what is cool about symbols. All right. This thing that we see on the stage we call an instance of a symbol. Important word, instance. If you ever forget it, look, as soon as I select this thing, the property is telling me this is an instance of Monopoly House. Okay? I will sometimes call this a symbol when I'm talking about something on stage, and I usually try to slap myself when I do, because this is really an instance. It's not a symbol, it's a symbol instance. Okay, but we get in bad habits. I can make more instances of this a couple of different ways. One is I can just drag it out from the preview window here. The other is I can just drag it out from the icon in the list. The third is that I can option drag it on stage. That's just dragging a copy like other things that we've seen. So now what do we have on stage on this layer? We have 5 instances of Monopoly House. An important thing about these instances is that they have things that make them the same, and that is the symbol that they're derived from. That is this thing in the library. They have things that make them different, and that is the value of their properties. Okay, so if we look at this, a symbol can hold lots of different properties. That's where Properties panel becomes important. You can see that it has an X property, a Y property, width and height, and lots of other things like rotation. We'll see that we have some color effect properties and some timeline behavior properties as well. All of these describe what I call the state of the symbol. So you can see what's the difference between these two symbol instances. Look, I just did it. What is the difference between these two instances? Well, yeah, they have different values in their X and Y properties. Look at this. This one, I'm going to come in and change its width property. Let's change this to 120. Okay. How about this one? How about we come in and change its rotation? Well, we don't have an easy way to change rotation here. Better way to change rotation is either to use your transform panel, where you can come up in here and rotate it like so. Of course, we can't see what's going on because the panel's blocking it. Or you could use your free transform tool and come up like so and rotate it. So these are all instances of the same symbol. It's just they have different properties. I'm going to go in and show you how to edit a symbol in a exciting way. Okay. So far, we've been doing everything on the stage. If you were to double-click a symbol in the library, there it's okay that I said a symbol. I would be wrong if I said instance, because this is a symbol. It's a blueprint. I'm going to double-click this, and what this has done is put me into the symbol editor. Symbol editor is different, right? How is it different? Well, it's not showing you the background of the stage. If we zoomed out, it's not even showing you the bounds of the stage. It's showing you nothing about the context that this instance is in. It's simply showing you the artwork inside the symbol and this thing, which is called the registration point. Your registration point, as you might guess, is, if we bring this out, it is the 0, 0 point on the symbol's coordinate grid. Okay. Typically, we put the registration point in the upper left. That way, all of our x values are positive as we go to the right. All of our y values are positive as we go down. Remember, flash coordinate grid is different from your high school geometry class. The positive sector is this one down here in the lower right-hand corner. Okay. Another way to clear your guides is just simply drag them off, or you can come to View, Guides, Clear Guides. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is put a door on my house. I'll just do that by making a rectangle with no stroke. We'll use that pure black for this one. I do have my snap to objects turned off, so it didn't snap quite nicely. Hopefully I got it right. So what we have just done is we've changed the blueprint. We haven't changed instance properties. We've changed the blueprint that makes these symbols. Yes, question.
How did you get to the editor of the symbol?
Good question. The question was, how did I get into the symbol editor? Well, I used one way, and I'm going to show you a different way in a minute. What I did was I came down to the library and double-clicked on the symbol, on the icon for the symbol down here in the library. So I simply did this. While we're talking about that, if you ever want to get out of this, when you're in the symbol editor, this is actually kind of a nice place to be when you're really working on artwork, because you can double-click anywhere. If you want to get back to your main timeline, you just come up to your edit bar. Here's my little mnemonic for this. Edit bar tells you where you are. Okay. The edit bar tells you what timeline you're looking at. Right now we're looking at the timeline of Monopoly House. Scene 1 is your main timeline. So go back to scene 1. And now look at what has happened. Since all of these instances are derived from the same blueprint, they were all updated. This is a really good thing, say, for instance, if you are working on a website where you've got like a company's logo. It's a new startup. They don't have the logo artwork yet, but they know that it's going to be 100 by 50. You just make a symbol, call it logo, and put some kind of programmer art in there that just says this is going to be changed, and use that symbol throughout, and then go back in and change it later. Okay, because we just updated it in the symbol editor, and you can see that it updated it everywhere else. Another way to edit a symbol is to double-click on an instance. So right now I'm on scene 1. If I double-click here, that takes me inside of Monopoly House. So the edit bar telling me where I are inside on the timeline of Monopoly House. This is called editing in place, or editing in context, because what it does is shows you all the rest of the symbols, instances that are on stage. Now this one is a little bit dangerous if you're a double-clicky kind of person, because if I were to double-click on empty space here, it pops me right outside of the symbol instance. So I'm right outside of symbol editing mode. Double-click to go in. You click on filled artwork. Double-click to get out. Empty space. This can be kind of confusing. It's a nice shortcut though. So let's double-click to get in. We're making sure that we're editing Monopoly House. What we're going to do here is go in and not zoom in quite so much here. We're going to add a window to our Monopoly House. Even though Monopoly House, I think they're embossed in, but you can't really see them. So I'd choose my rectangle, and watch this. You're going to see, since we are editing in context, we're going to see what is also happening to everything else in the timeline. See that? So that is making our window update as we go. Okay, that's the difference between editing in context and editing in the symbol editor. There are different times that you want to use different methods. Sometimes when your artwork is really too crowded or claustrophobic, you might want to go into the symbol editor again by just double-clicking here. Alrighty, let's end this part right here, and in the next part we're going to look at some more stuff we can do with symbols. We're going to make our Monopoly Hotel, and we're going to change some color properties. So come on back for part 3.